Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today we're going to be talking about Bruckner Symphony number 6. And I'll bet you know which one it is, don't you? I mean, come on. Klemperer. Who else could it possibly be? One of the greatest recordings of anything anybody ever did, and one of Klemperer's very greatest recordings, especially because at the time that he made this recording, Bruckner Sixth was as good as unknown. It was regularly poo-pooed by everybody, even the Bruckner people, believe it or not, because they hadn't gone insane yet. And so they hadn't developed this, slavish fanatical devotion to every note that the master left. No, at that time, people listened to Bruckner's fourth primarily, then the seventh primarily, and maybe sometimes the eighth, maybe the ninth. That was it. That was Bruckner. Nobody paid attention to the rest of this stuff. And boy, what a happy day that must have been. Because, not because people didn't pay attention to it, but because it was still exciting to discover it. For those of us who were around then, that is, getting to know these other works was so much fun and so interesting because Bruckner had such an individual style, such a personal style. And hearing this performance of the Sixth was like a miracle. It was an amazing thing, especially because Bruckner had the reputation, because of those other works, of being incredibly slow and incredibly long-winded, and just this sort of German heavy, sententious, and that was only part of the story. The Sixth is one of his shortest symphonies. I mean, this performance, even with Klemperer doing it, is 16, 14, 30 plus 22. 52 minutes. So it's as long as one of the Elgar symphonies. It's as long as even Brahms' second with repeats. It's not ridiculous. It sounds bigger than it is because Bruckner sounds big. I mean, his style is simply monumental. That was who the man was. But the Sixth has some of the most wonderful, wonderful tunes. It has that fabulous Hollywood fanfare at the end of the first movement. Da 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 bum. Yeah, I mean, it's Metro Goldwyn Bruckner. It's just terrific. And then you've got this gorgeous slow movement in perfect sonata form. It has no issues with length, and the Mendelssohnian Scherzo, and the finale, which is a Bruckner finale. You're kind of listening to it going, it sounds a little bit like the first movement, although the first movement did it better. Well, yes, that's what a Bruckner finale does, because the purpose of a Bruckner finale is not to be exciting. It's to gather together the threads of the whole work to arrive at a logical conclusion, if not a thrilling one. And so the ending is almost never as good as the ending of the first movement, but that's okay. It's okay because it's not a terribly long finale. It's 13 minutes. It's not crazy. Not crazy. I mean, the first movement is 16 and something. So it makes sense. It's not a finale symphony. People don't realize that not all symphonies are supposed to end with grand finales. Most don't. Most of Beethoven's did not. Most of the classical Haydn and Mozart people, they almost never do. And a lot of later ones, they have finales which just have to be the right finale. It doesn't have to be the biggest, most important part of the work. And so it isn't here. And here it really works because the work itself is not so enormous and monumental that you feel that the only appropriate ending would be a finale of uncompromising monumentality. And Klemperer, for all his reputation as the king of granitic, measured German solemnity, is not in any way attempting to make this music something it isn't. He is his classic, clear, lucid, unsentimental, organically cohesive, texturally, pellucidly transparent self. And he's got the Philharmonia sounding marvelous, and the recording is terrific, and it's really the way to get to know the work. And it's actually interesting because Klemperer's interpretation of the first movement is quite different. He takes it all at a very, very straight tempo in which the first subject is actually slower than the second subject, when you would think the opposite is the way it's supposed to go, but it doesn't matter because it works perfectly. It's a brilliant, brilliant interpretation of a stunning, exciting work. And for my money, probably the best introduction to Bruckner out there. I mean, not just this recording, but the sixth, the work. It deserves to get heard. I mean, I think it's a much more attractive work than the Fourth Symphony, the Romantic Symphony. It just doesn't have a title. We should call it the Better Symphony. The Sixth, better than the Romantic. That's what it should be called. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.